Good morning, welcome to Furry and Spoilt. Today I'm going to talk to you about vets and hot spots and itchy skin. We have a little look at my pickle boy here, name and shame him. The holes in the sofa he did when he was a puppy. Didn't you, darling? He's nearly 8 now, but they came back to haunt you, haven't they? He didn't actually chew the holes in the sofa, he was chewing toys, and the sofa somehow got caught up in it all, and this happened. I normally have covers over the top to hide it, but they're in the wash because it's hay fever season. But I just want to talk to you about vets today. So I am contacted most days by somebody about that's got hot spots and itchy skin, and I'm very, very happy to help. And I would say 90% of all of the messages always start the same. So it's always that you've got a vet, you've got a dog that's got hot spots and itchy skin, really suffering. So they're at the vet, and the vets have got them on steroids, antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, but it's not working. So they've upped the dose and it's still not working, and you are now at your wit's end. I absolutely can relate to this. I completely understand where you're at, because that's exactly the situation that I was in 11 years ago with my little Albert down here. Exactly that situation. And the vet said to us, I think you need to have him put to sleep because his quality of life is no good. And she had a point, and I actually agreed with her. His quality of life was so bad. He was covered in hot spots. He still has some scars now from them. They were so bad. Anyway, so I went a little bit crazy and was like, no, I'm going to research and research. You do not put dogs down because they're itchy. There has to be a solution. And that is what my whole life has been for the last 11 years. Dedicated to dog nutrition and welfare and just dogs. Well, my life has been dedicated to dogs for a lot longer than that, probably about 30 years. But this particular part of it, hotspots and nutrition. And I got Albert completely sorted out, and we haven't had any problems at all for the last 10 years. And I haven't changed anything. Everything that I put into practice then is exactly the same as I do now, and it's exactly the same as I recommend to you. And he is brilliant. And any time when something's gone a little bit wrong, like I said in the last video about somebody was feeding him a little bit of toast, he has a flare up. So I know it's all still there, and so I know everything I do is working because it's all still there, but I'm managing to keep it all, I managed to stop it all. But what amazes me about the vets is they did not ask me once what I was feeding him. So when I started researching, the thing that came up was what are you feeding them? And at the time, I was feeding him a diet of cereals, wheats, grains. The food we were feeding him was just all wheats and cereals. I think it was like 12% meat. The rest of it was all wheats and grains and cereals. The treats we were feeding him were full of wheat. I was feeding him little bits of toast. So his main diet was wheats and cereals. And because of that, it made it really quite easy to clear him up. Because as soon as I realised that, got him off that diet, got him onto a dog food that was 85% meat, stopped all the wheats and the treats, put him on grain-free treats, and no more tidbits, he cleared up incredibly quickly. And the vets never once, not once, did they ask me what I was feeding him. They were going to put him to sleep because they didn't know to ask me that. And I cannot understand this with vets. Aren't you supposed to be clever if you're a vet? I always thought if you were a vet, you were clever. Why are they not asking what you're feeding? I just don't. Why? I just don't understand it. And they're not. And it's worse than that, because some of you contact me with telling me what the vet has suggested you do, and it's absolutely shocking. If you did that, like for instance, bath the actual dog in something or bathe the hot spots in something, you are going to strip the skin so bad that you are going to make your dog suffer so badly. And they're suggesting this. And I just can't understand it. How do they not know? I can't understand it. So, ideally, it would be lovely if we lived in a world where you went to the vet and they knew everything you think they would know about dogs, and you could trust them, and what they told you to do, you did, and it was all great. Unfortunately, that isn't the world we live in. It just isn't. We live in a world where vets just, well, I don't know what it is, but they just don't know. And especially with hotspots, they just don't know. They never ever ask anybody about what they're feeding their dog. They just never do. Or, I mean, the other thing is they do put them on Piriton. That's how I came across Piriton with Albert, is that the vet actually did put us on Piriton. And that is a good thing, whether your dog has got itchy because he's got of what's going into him, or whether he's itchy because of outside allergies. Piriton is a good thing, and I do still use that, and it's a good thing. But apart from that, I haven't heard one suggestion that any of you have told me that your vets have said that's worked. I haven't heard any of it. So the point of this video is I just want to say, I know that if you're a new dog owner or you're new to hotspots, because when hotspots came into my life, I was very far from being a new dog owner, very far from it. I'd owned dogs for years and was I was hugely involved in dogs. I trained dogs, we did agility, dog behaviour, all of it. I was incredibly involved in dog training and the dog world. But I'd never come across hotspots before. So even with all the knowledge I had, and we went to the vet and she put him on steroids and anti-inflammatories and antibiotics, because I didn't know, I let her do it. And he suffered terribly on the steroids. Steroids, not all dogs react the same, but the majority of them, they make them incredibly thirsty. So they're always drinking. So therefore, they're always needing to go to the toilet. Therefore, they're not getting any sleep. It's horrible. And they make them incredibly hungry. And they're not sorting out the problem. They're just not sorting out the problem at all. You need to get to the root of the problem. I've never met a dog who gets over hotspots from having steroids and all that malarkey and still eating wheat. I've never come across it. There is so much more. There's so much other stuff that I've done, and I talk about it on this channel all the time. I'll put the video up at the end about stopping hotspots. And like I said, that is what I talk about in that video is what I did 11 years ago, and I've never changed it. There's not a single thing. I am constantly researching hotspots to see if there's any new developments on it, if there's any new findings, if there's any new products. And I'm not finding anything at all. So all I can go by is my little Albert over here, and the fact that that has sorted him right out. And like I said, we've had 2 instances where he's had flare-ups in that time. One, like I said, was the toast, and another one was I gave him a carrot, and that caused a big flare-up for about a week, and that was because of the sugar in the carrot. And I talk about that as well in what to feed dogs with hotspots. Stay away from carrots and sweet potatoes. Now, as it happens at the moment, like I said in the last video, Albert can eat sweet potatoes at the moment. He's not having a problem with that. It's fine. But if you've got a dog that is full of hotspots now, you need to clean out you need to clean their system out. So get them off anything like anything sugary. So, and that's the thing with the cereals and the wheats and the grains. Goes in the body, turns to sugar, sugar turns to inflammation, and that's why you've got your problem. So get them off anything like that. I don't really know what to advise you with the vets. I just did a straight, you're not putting him down. I will sort this out myself. And took him off everything. Steroids, the anti-inflammatories, the antibiotics, took him off the lot. I don't want to say to you to do that, because I don't want to say that. But if a dog was brought to me now, so you know me, I'm always rescuing dogs. And if a dog was brought to me and he was in a terrible state with hotspots, and he was at the vets on steroids and all the stuff, the first thing I would do is stop all of that at a rate. Like the steroids, don't just come straight off and do it slowly, but I would get off all of that. I would get him onto a grain-free food, and then really analyse and make sure nobody in the house is feeding them anything. Make sure that there is nothing at all going into them that is a cereal or a wheat or a grain or white fish or beef. I'm going to do a video, it will be the next video you see, talking about what grains are, because some people actually, I've had a few questions about it. People are a bit confused, and it's things like, and I didn't know this, one of you told me this, and I was very grateful to you for that, because I didn't know it. Tapioca starch is a grain, and I didn't know that, and it's in some foods. So thank you for telling me that. I appreciate that. I didn't know that. And so but I'll just go on the internet. I'll find out what everything that's classed as a grain. and then I'll just go through it all with you and let you know, because it can be a bit confusing otherwise. Oats is something that confuses a lot of people. So, and for your information, oats are a grain. They grow out of the ground. They are a grain. So I'll just do that in the next video. If you're at the vets, if you're watching this and you're at the vets and you're in the state that I was in, please contact me. You can do it either on here, on YouTube, or you can do it, which most people do, on my DMs on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. You can message me on there, but if you're on Instagram, do it on Instagram, because that's where I am most of the time, keeping an eye on stuff. And just tell me where you're at, and I'll help you. It is not that complicated, really. Once you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, it's not that complicated. And I think to be an owner, whether you're new or whether you're just like me and hadn't had the experience of hotspots, and for your dog to be suffering like that, and for your vet not to be able to help you, is really, really scary. Because you hope that when you go to the vet, they can stop problems and they can sort things out. And to not have that, and to have your dog suffering, it's awful. It's really, really, really awful. And I really feel for you, and I really know where you're at with it. I was there, and it was awful, and it completely consumed all of my dogs do consume my whole life, but it was really awful. It was terrible. And thank goodness, just thank goodness for the internet to start with, and thank goodness that I just was like, no, there has to be an answer to this. And I actually found the answer quite quickly. It didn't take me that long, a few days, and I had a plan in place. And thank goodness for that, because my little Albert, wherever he is, my little Albert wouldn't... Where are you? Albert, come here and say hello to people. You're all okay now. You look homeless most of the time, don't you, sweetheart? You do look homeless. Look at his face. Gorgeous boy. Yeah, so that's my story. I completely understand. And, yeah, it's a sad fact of life, but look at his bichon. He's got a bichon bump here that started to bleed. He caught it. That's another thing I need to do a video about, is all bichon lumps. Because if you don't know about, because that's another thing, majority of you are bichon cross owners. I do need to talk about bichon lumps, because you have lots of them, don't you, darling? You've had like 10 years, haven't you, to grow bichon lumps? Yeah, you have. He's almost 11. Where are we now? April, yeah, June, he's going to be 11. Aren't you, darling? Right, okay then, I'm going to go now. Thank you for watching. Don't hesitate to ask me if you're worried and you've got a question about anything. If your vet has recommended something and you're not sure, don't hesitate. We'll help them, won't we, darling? We will help them. All right, have a good day. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.